Good afternoon. Welcome to GMB Drive In from GMB London region. I'm Steve Garlick from GMB London region. I'm joined this afternoon by Mick Ricks, who's GMB National Officer dealing with transport and the gig economy. And we'll be having some other visitors joining us this afternoon as well as we go through the broadcast. Basically, I know we've also had some questions come in, which we'll get to during the course of the broadcast this afternoon. And hopefully we'll see more people joining us as the afternoon goes on. Just introduce you to Mick. Mick will tell you a little bit about himself. And, I'll let Mick take it away rather than me go on.
Well, good evening, Steve. How are you doing, mate?
I'm all good, thank you.
Brilliant. And it's good to see you still got a smile on your face after Friday's fantastic win. And I just want to say to people, just before I say a few more words, that Steve has been instrumental and an absolute superb ally in ensuring that we saw through our actions to the Supreme Court and the fantastic decision over Uber on Friday. And if it hadn't been for Steve and a couple of other colleagues in the union, we would not have had that tremendous victory in the manner that we did, because it's taken perseverance and there's been some casualties along the way as well. But the decision was so far-reaching that I think people are only just understanding the full ramifications now for the gig economy regards that decision. So it's not just a decision about Uber; it is a decision right across the gig economy, and this can only bode well for people. So part of my responsibility at national level is transport distribution, gig economy, Amazon, and anything else that people think I may be able to assist them with or resolve. So those duties can be quite varied, and you know, no 2 days are alike within the union. And as you can see, today is Tuesday. It's been a bit of a tough week with some bad news, but let me just be quite honest. My face has still got a big smile on its face, especially after last Friday's decision, because I just think it was a fantastic day for the trade union. I think it was a fantastic day for working people in general, and it's a fantastic day for those people that have been exploited in the gig economy as well.
Thanks so much for that, Mick. I'd just like to introduce you all to Dennis Bartholomew, who, apart from being one of the claimants on the case, has been also heavily involved in the work that we've been doing as a union on gig economy, transport workers' rights, and he'll be certainly getting involved. Certainly, we're delighted to have him here. Jabid, yes, the Facebook is active for live now. We'd love to see you join us on the other side. I have sent you through a link. We're hoping to have Jabid Hussain, who you can see just coming up there, putting the coming in, who was the moped courier driver who was actually assaulted with acid, and he's got a very special story to tell. Just some other messages coming up. Here's from Paul Sweeney. You've seen some from Mark Morahan, Tony Such, Olga Borisova, and others. I'm sure we'll have questions coming in during this afternoon. Mick, obviously we're thrilled. It has been 6 years in the making, this case, and frankly, I think it's a very special story of a lot of perseverance, a lot of individuals who have really tried their very hardest to put up with some behaviours that most wouldn't accept. And now we're able to start to tell companies such as Uber that they must behave, they must play the game. We've seen already, unfortunately, in the last few days, a couple of behaviours that I'm not so sure are correct. Not one from Jamie Hayward, a statement from Uber, which spoke to the fact that not everyone should be covered by this action. Even the Financial Times commented on this today being a wholly inappropriate way to act. We've also seen some of the individual companies who are involved in trying to I've had termed to me as potentially ambulance chasers today, law firms who haven't been involved in the case whatsoever, seeking to earn money from drivers with no win, no fee cases. And I am very, very concerned about what that means. We will be reaching out to people as time goes on. And certainly, we also want to get your viewpoint on some of this today. Also, we're not just here about Uber today. We are here also for those who are private hire drivers, working normally, taxi drivers, and also those who are doing food delivery, Deliveroo, Stewart. And now we've got another very special guest just joining us as well. This is Yassine Aslam, one of the lead claimants involved in the case, just joining us. Hi, Yassine. Nice to see you this afternoon. Do you want to just say a few words, obviously, about the case and about how you feel about the win?
No, it's delighted over Jay. I just want to say thank you, GMB. I mean, the case started back in 2015. At the time, I was with the GMB, and we went with Lee Day. And the thing is, like, it just like last few days, just like all these things backwards and forwards. But the main thing is, GMB was the people that started this. Yeah, this fight, and we owe it to GMB. You know. And I think it's just like, this is Uber. It was just, and we're gonna see more and more of such kind of companies come forward, and it's important to be part of a union, because in the coming days we don't know what's gonna happen. Things gonna change. You're gonna get a regulator such as Transport for London. You got the government. You also got other operators like Bolt, Ola. So there's so much uncertainty. And the best thing right now people could do is be part of a union. So I would, so I'm not going to say the point here is, look, it's very important to be part of a union. There is power within a union to be part of a union, because we could only achieve something when we're together collectively. It's not done individually, even though everyone keeps saying it's Yassim or James. It was only done because there were people. And so it's not about individual, it's about doing things together collectively, and that's where the power comes. Yeah, my dad was a factory worker, and he's part of a trade union. And back in the days, the trade union played a big, massive role. And don't forget, my dad didn't speak good English, but the shop steward and the people at the time were the people that did everything. And they didn't have to go into court. Everything was done just because they had the right structure there. With the people that is representing. So it's more militant in terms of people saying, look, the bosses were scared. The last thing they ever wanted was to upset the workers there, because they knew if they upset the workers, and they're all going to come together and they're going to shut the place down. So I remember my dad and his mates, when they sit together and they tell stories about how they done strikes. This is going back like 10 to 30, 40 years ago, how they would just stand outside the factory, block everything. And they didn't know what a court looks like because they'd never been to it. And it's like everyone talking about and how the Supreme Court, but I just want to bring people back to reality. The fact is, we could achieve a lot, and people shouldn't have to drag through a long, lengthy process of 6-7 years. And during that time, I suffered, I went into severe depression. There's time that I felt suicidal, all kind of stuff, yeah? And the odds are stacked against us. But when we're together, you could achieve a lot. And what I'm trying to do, I'm just comparing myself to my dad and his mates. And I'm thinking, I had a different way. They enjoyed it. They had the power because they were together. Without, they couldn't speak English. They didn't understand the law, but they had the control in a way. And that's my message. But I just want to say thank you for Steve and Dennis and the other Jabin and Mick Rick. I think it's first time I'm actually meeting Mick today. good to meet you, Mick.
How you doing, Yassine? Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, just like Jabid Hussain has just joined us as well. Jabid, as I said at the outset, was the uh, delivery courier who had acid thrown on him. Is a huge advocate for courier food delivery riders and does some great work. And we'll be hearing a bit more from him shortly. Just wanted to also bring in Dennis, who hasn't really said a hello yet either. So. Hello, Dennis. Just go ahead. I'm gonna just zoom into Dennis, and then I'll zoom into everyone else in a minute.
Well, hello. I really would like, from the bottom of my heart, to congratulate Yassim, James, Mick, and of course Steve, yourself, Simon, and others who took on this case. This case is so significant in terms of labor relations. It is going to be so effective. And as Yassim was saying, it is the strength of the GMB and the strength of other unions that have brought this case. In speaking over the last few days, I have pointed out that no individual worker could have afforded to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on bringing a case to the Supreme Court. It is when workers combine, when we are working together, that we have this strength. This is a great advert for unions. I've asked everyone and all my friends, all my WhatsApp groups, join a union. Get your people to join a union, any union. If you don't like the GMB, join another union, but join a union. That's what I have to say. Great victory. Well done.
Okay, so let me just bring everyone back in. Well, I think this is worth applause. Obviously, we've also had some questions from Manju Chowdhury mentioning Deliveroo this afternoon. He's having lots of problems. One of the reasons he's a GMB member is because of this. Obviously, I think it might just be worth Jabid just telling everyone a bit about some of the issues that delivery couriers have, just to give you a bit of an update. So go ahead, Jabid.
The mic is all right. My mic is all right. Can you hear me?
Absolutely perfectly.
First of all, I will say congratulations to everyone, included my brother Yassin and James Farrar, who done a great job. And it is not just for us as a delivery minicab. It is for all of us who's working as a self-employed. And it should have been done long time ago, not this time, long time ago. We were struggling, like, those people who bought a car, like spend about 30-40 grand, and then end of the day ended up with nothing. And there are a lot of family are struggling now. So far I know from my family side as well. It should be done long time ago. You've done a great job. I'm telling you, you'll be remembered after a long time. Everyone, not just in UK, not just in London, it's everywhere in Scotland, Ireland. They're feeling proud of you guys. You feel you've done a great job, and it is a victory for not just for Courier, as minicab, as I said. It is a victory for all the drivers who's working as a courier, food delivery, even though anyone doing self-employed business, self-employed partnership. It is a great victory for us. And obviously we are struggling a lot of different ways. As a food delivery drivers, we attack with a lot of things. We've been fighting, even Mr. Steve and I, and a lot of others union as well, because I'm not in particular one union. I'm just trying to give some idea and give some everything to, this is why I'm just joining all the unions, not just particular one union. And the GMB is doing great job. Mr. Steve is always with me. A few MPs, Stephen Thames and Roshanora Ali and other MPs that keep giving us support and all this. This is why we done a few demonstrations, not just once. Every time, whenever we've done a demonstration, well, Minicab did a demonstration from their side, and we done it from our side. So we couldn't be together, but we done a great job few times, and we keep pushing them for our minimum wages, for our sick pay, and all this. And well, we done it. Well done. Thank you.
What can I say? Thank you, Jabed. Well, I think obviously we've got a question that's just come in. That's just coming from Paul Sweeney. Do Uber now have to pay sick note for stress where they previously refused? Well, it's a big question. I think where Uber will have to pay and where they won't have to pay, and a lot of questions are still a little open. Certainly, we already know that they're trying to avoid their obligations. We already know from last Friday they're trying to claim that this is just a handful of people. We have a slightly different perspective on what that really means. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is really educate people as well as to what the situation is. And whether you're a private hire, taxi driver, a courier, a food delivery agent, somebody who is delivering packages for low money, all of you deserve better. All of you deserve backup. And that's part of what today is about. Just giving that message, giving that extra support, and for people being able to ask questions, engage, and the like. I wanted to also just bring Mick back in on this, and I think obviously, he'll have something to say about these points, both on Courier and also on some of the comments that both Yassin and Jabed have made, and Dennis for that matter, because we've had such a huge win, but we're not quite there yet.
No. Really good to see you, Yassim, and congratulations, being one of the lead claimants. I mean, it has been a difficult time through the years for you, but you've stood the course, and I salute you for that, because it takes strength of character to do that. Good to see you again, Jabed, and I know I've not seen you for a couple of years, but really good to see you. And my old friend Dennis, who was another claimant. Hope everything's well with you, brother, and and thank you for your perseverance and your courage. What happens next? Well, it's quite clear. The issues around the detriments, the award, the compensation that people will receive will now go back to an employment tribunal. The Supreme Court decision is final. That is the ruling. That is now the case law in this country, and that's why I say it is such a fantastic win. There are two things out of the judgment which I want to perhaps be a bit controversial about, and say to people that this is where we have to clearly think strategically. So the issue is, if you're after a quick buck and you're after getting some compensation, that's fine. That's a matter for you. But actually, the problems with the Uber drivers face and the other gig economy employers face will not go away unless there is collective actions to unionize and have collective agreements, union agreements within those companies. So bad behavior and bad treatment can still take place. So the issue is, this is about also building long-term, sustainable, good jobs, not demeaning jobs that exploit people. So that's the first thing that I want to be a bit controversial about. The second thing that I just want to explain to people is that one of the things that obviously was ruled on, which was a very important point and one that we've been after for a while, was the issue of working time. So because working time has been ruled on, what that now means is, and this is the potential significance of what has taken place, if you couple the working time rule that has now been made by the Supreme Court. You then merge that with the other decision that because these colleagues have now been classed as workers, then they are entitled to the national, at least the national minimum wage. So, for instance, I did an analysis on a courier who works for Amazon last week. The analysis that I looked at was he was paid £2.80 an hour after everything. So the analysis that we always struggled before was, how could you calculate the national minimum wage without a declaration on what people's hours were? Now, because we've got a declaration on what the calculation of working time is, and now because we've also got the calculation of what these colleagues are entitled to the national minimum wage, which is after expenses, actually means, if I look at that courier who I talked to from Amazon last week, that is over £5 an hour pay rise that person would be entitled to. Now, multiply that across the gig economy. It still may be, in some respects, low pay, but what a fantastic pay rise we have just potentially put in place for people. We have potentially raised people's living standards by thousands of pounds, and we should not let go of that. Those are two absolutely fundamental decisions that have come out of this.
Dennis, I think, has a point on this.
Mick, you are so right. The basis of these so-called shiny new technology companies is nothing more than stealing the money out of the pockets of the workers.
Yeah.
That £5 that you've illustrated has gone straight into the pockets of Jeff Bezos, a man who is worth 135 billion.
Yeah.
How does he manage it? Is it because he's extra brilliant? Is it because his technology is so great, he's making big profits? No, he's making the money out of you. None of these companies are really sustainable, because the only thing that makes them sustainable is the poor Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Kashmiri drivers working 60 hours a week at least. That's what makes these companies sustainable. That's what gives them their big profits and so on. So what you're saying, when you look at all of the analysis of all of these things, I think you're actually wrong. I think this case goes beyond it. It goes beyond just London and Uber, obviously, as Yassim has said. It will be referred to in the Commonwealth courts where Uber tries to enter. So in India, they refer to British cases in their decisions. In Canada, it's going to be referred to. And I believe in America as well, the American courts refer to British decisions. So this is going to have a real major impact. These companies are nothing but leeches on us.
Yeah,
I think this is a valid point also, Dennis, that when we set off on this, I'll call it a voyage, we weren't just talking about Uber. This was the gig economy in general. This is the people who are working as carers. This is security guards. This is people on 0-hour contracts or sham contracts that look as if they're working in a particular fashion, but they're not. And this is wholly important to where we're going and where we want to go as individuals for the future. On top of that, you hear other stories. Today, I'm faced with a story over drivers who are working out of Colchester train station, where a BDO have a company in who's asking them for thousands or hundreds upon hundreds of pounds, I should say, for permits to work on a train station that is virtually empty because of COVID. Nobody's looking out for these drivers. Plenty of local councils aren't paying drivers funds that are purely, or the government said could be available for individuals. So that's food delivery, who aren't managing as well as they could, private hire and taxi drivers. Obviously, most couriers are managing, but there is a huge new economy out there that needs control. And unless we set down the rules, unless we make companies answerable, especially gig companies, then we are going to be in big trouble. I'm sure that This is also at the back of Yassine's mind as well from this perspective, because it has been something that he's seen during the course of the case, and obviously he's also had to put up with some other unusual situations along the way from others that he's been working with. I know he may not want to talk so much about that, but there have been people who have created some obstacles for him.
I mean, I could quickly touch on that. I just want to go on to what Dennis said. I mean, if you just look at Uber's model, like the person that found Uber, Travis Kalanick, I can't even pronounce his name properly there. The guy who found it, he made a killing and walked away with billions. He's gone. But it's people like myself and other workers that are still here trying to just fight for basic rights. And one of the things when you look at these companies like Uber, they rely on, as Dennis said, is people from all these ethnic communities background. Why? Because they're so desperate. Yeah. And one of the things that I found, and it's quite common, is people sort of lost trust within unions and they don't want to organize. But the point here is, look, it's important for people to join the union, especially from BME. And I just gave an example. Sorry, I just jumped in and I'll just sort of quickly introduce myself. I was just talking about my dad. He was part of a union, and therefore it's important. Like, even though the concept changed where it's more technology, but we're still working. We do need rights and we do need unions. So, as Dennis said as well, it's not about, like the union that you see doing something for you. We're not there in as a competition, just be part of a union, be part of a union that got the muscles to back you when you need it. Now, I've been through various stages and I've seen unions pop up like NGOs, and they're just there saying they're workers-led movement. But really, it's just a few academics and people behind it that actually pigging back and doing exactly what Uber's doing. And, I don't want to be here calling out, but I'm just saying, just be careful because, and I could see, and like I said, the union's been around for years, yeah? And things have changed, and obviously it's hard for everyone to keep up. And one of the problem we have is, it's just like these companies, they're so good at what they're doing and it's hard to keep up. But, we're breaking through that. And I'm, like I said, I'm delighted to be on this today because my message is very clear that, look, be with the union. And I have to say, and I have to give credit to GMB, they are one of the biggest unions. Yeah. But if you don't want to be part of GMB, that's your choice. But the point is, look, they do have the resources to help you and support you. If you want to join another union, join them. But look into the union you're joining. Make sure that they could represent you. Make sure it's not just a pop-up union just there. You're doing all the campaigning. You're putting your neck on the line. And I'm just going to go back to last year when we were doing the congestion charge. We put our neck on the line. We were there every single day. And when James Barra, he nearly got locked up. He was about to go into prison. That's how serious it was. Regardless of what, I'm just giving you a little background into. But the union we were with failed to back him. And this is where it's important that, and this is why people sort of lost that trust. But I know one thing about, GMB. They got the muscle. So if you were ever in that position where you're about to get locked up, they will never walk away from you. Yeah. So, and it's the same. And so this is why I don't want to go too much into it. But, and I hope I made myself clear there, Steve. But
sure.
Yeah, the message is like simple, straightforward. Look, just join a union. Yeah, and especially if you're from a migrant, from a Pakistani background or Bangladesh background or whatever, we need unions more than ever. And the unions are there for us, but there's a misconception because of all this discrimination and all these kind of elements that we think, it's not going to help us. But listen, get rid of all that element, yeah, and join one, because it's important if you work in this trade that you're part of a union.
Thank you, Yassine. I'm just going to put a couple of questions that have come up. John Jones, Mick, you'll probably be able to answer this best. Basically, this is a question about Hermes couriers. They're being forced to return HHT machines. For those of you who don't know what an HHT is, that's the little device, a little like a mobile phone. You see people signing off when you get your parcels delivered and they scan them. Perhaps, Mick, you might be able to answer on that.
Well, there will be an agreement on this. Hermes are replacing their technology. So these machines are not going to last forever. And as soon as they do these machines, the technology changes anyway. So the technology is easier to be done via an app. And the people that have been trialing this, and many couriers have been doing it, actually find the benefit of the app rather than the HHT. The fact of the matter is, this is the company's property. They are allowed by law to recall their property at any time. It doesn't belong to the courier. It belongs to the company. And as a self-employed person, in that sense, the tools of the job would be provided by the self-employed person. So yes, at the appropriate time, the company can give notice and recall their machines and ask the couriers to use the appropriate app. But that's where a trade union then comes in, because it's what can a trade union do to negotiate the price of the data of that app. And not many people have looked into those issues about the costs of things like that. And I can assure you that we as a trade union have done. And without saying too much at the moment, we will secure a price with the company that will pay for the use of the data that the courier will be using. So actually the app will be better and it's more reliable than what the HHT is.
Thanks for that. So a question just come up from John Topman. Now that workers are classed as employees, will companies be responsible for deductions? Look, there is this misconception, and I had somebody from a trade paper call me. Workers won't be employees. There are three stratas here now. You've got self-employed, worker, and then employed. In this case, we're talking about worker status. That only comes with certain values. One of those is the minimum wage that we've had a brief conversation about earlier today, and the other is obviously in relation to holiday pay. Sick pay isn't a sequitur in this instance. The whistleblowing is there, and there are some other protections. But ultimately, what people will see is a value in their pocket in terms of improved circumstances. We hope in the next few days to be telling everyone about a groundbreaking agreement along with worker contracts with a particular company. And we hope it's going to be the very first of many. We're tantalizingly close, and I'm not going to bock it by saying any more than that at this stage, except we are close. But John, this is very different, and I'm going to try and do an article in PHTM shortly just to explain the difference, because there's a lot of people who, especially those who I think sometimes are being misinformed by some app companies about what this really means. It doesn't suddenly mean that you can't go and do jobs elsewhere. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to log on when you want, but ultimately it does mean that you will benefit. There is another question here from Paul Sweeney. Is there a time limit on claims going forward, Mick?
Sorry, but what was that? It's the time limit on claims going forward. The issue is, if people feel that they have a claim, I mean, they've won a judgment. So what we don't have in the UK, which is unfortunate, we don't have a situation like you will have heard in America, where they have a class action ruling. So if someone won a case against a company, that ruling would apply to all workers within that. So we've looked at these issues. So there is that. So if you feel you've got a claim and it's get it in now, that is the issue. Is get this in as quickly as possible, so that the ruling of worker status can be applied to yourself. The other thing is it's the calculation of potential back pays in terms of holiday pay and things like that. So there is an argument that came out 2 years ago where we were looking at potentially going back to the date of inception of working for a company that holidays would apply for. And I think we're still looking at that at this moment. So So the issue is to get this in as quickly as possible.
So there's a question that came up from Mark Turnbull, which was, will the outcome of the Uber case affect contracts of other companies that use a similar workforce? I think I'll partly answer this. Mick will probably want to as well. I know Dennis has also got a comment he wants to make.
Yeah.
Just so what I'll do is quickly do mine and let Mick and then let Dennis also make his comment. We already about to put out a further release on the Addison Lee case. We have had other cases ongoing that will reach what we hope is a natural conclusion. We imagine that there are some companies literally reaching for the skies at the moment, or worrying. That our door is always open as a union. We're always prepared to talk to companies about doing the right thing, being ethical, looking out for those who work with their food delivery, regular courier, or regular drivers, or if you're taxing, you're working on one of the apps. Ultimately, we want to protect you all, and that is what we're keen to do. Mick, is there any more you want to say on that front?
No, not really. I mean, I think what people have got to be careful of is that we know what we've won, and I think companies are not going to just cave into people. I mean, look, some of these companies have been around for quite a few years now. They have been exploiting people. They will not give workers these rights unless these workers stand up collectively and challenge these decisions. And the only way that they can do that is through the auspices of a trade union. That is why I'm saying to people that, in my terms, this is not just about compensation. This is about building sustainable trade unionism that protects workers for the long term, because Uber could just apply this judgment to those drivers that have been named in the proceedings. The thousands of other Uber drivers may not be covered by that. That is why people have to come forward and put their head above the parapet, join the claims, so that we can get them lawful worker status, which means that they are then protected by these rights.
Just before Dennis goes on, I know that Yassina's got to leave, so I just wanted to thank him for joining us this afternoon, and congratulations again to you, not James, and to many other of the litigants who have poured over all sorts of shit. Been bothered by me. Send this in. Been bothered probably by Lee Day and everyone else. We're delighted we are where we are. It makes all the difference, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
No worries. I just want to say thank you to everyone and a lot of drivers watching. And I just want to quickly give a shout out to what's his name, Simon, that passed away, Simon Virgo. He was a GMB member, a good friend of mine. I'm sure he'd have been delighted today. And having said that, just mentioning Simon's name, we have a driver that got murdered a few days ago, last week. And we're holding a vigil outside Bolt office. So if any drivers watching this, you're welcome to join. It's just from 2 o'clock till 2:30. Obviously, we're going to have social distance. Just turn up with a candle for half an hour just to show your respect. Because one of the things, other than our pay, we also have a lot of attack and abuse, and like I mentioned, we just had a driver that got murdered, so yeah, but I just think it's just good to mention Simon's name because he was a good friend of mine. He kept in touch and everything. So yeah, it would be a shame not to mention his name today. But rest in peace.
Yeah. Listen, I have to tell you, I found the last. I was going through WhatsApp messages the other day, and I found the last WhatsApp that Simon sent me. I won't delete that account. I just can't.
Yeah.
But really, truly wonderful individual. So thanks for bringing him to everyone's attention today, because it's worth it. And once again, thanks for joining us. It's key. There is a problem that drivers, be they private hire, taxi, courier, subject to assault. We know Jabid will probably want to talk about
Steve,
this.
I just want to discuss about a lot of drivers been asking me a lot of different questions. Sometimes I find it very hard. Sometimes I find it easy. There are a lot of drivers doesn't know, are we included or not? Do you have to do another demonstration? or do you need to go to the same way how Brother Yassin and all of us went? Do you have to do any more hard fight or anything? But I explained to them what I know is, but some of the question is difficult because it is hard to explain to them. Something even I don't even know. It's not been properly fixed yet. So how it's going to work and how they asked me a lot of questions. Some of the drivers they joined already here, but basically it is a good news for us, as I mentioned, and from 50,000 drivers in London, 50,000 of I know 50,000 of driver in our London, courier driver, food delivery drivers, and all of us wanted to give you thank you guys, and I hope we should have a meeting once in a month at least, and all the unions, not just only GMB, all the unions, you need to invite them to come and join with one meeting, one stage, and fight for this, because we have got a lot to do about our safety, about our thing is about those recently one of Mr. Steve probably knows, one of the drivers, he's struggling to pay his finance, and then they came to take his car away, and then he had to borrow some money from somebody else and pay him back, because the people are struggling to pay their finance at the moment. Whoever bought the for 25-30 grand the vehicle, well, they relied on it, but unfortunately because of the pandemic they are only able to pay for that money. And one of my friend, I mentioned to Mr. Steve, this is what exactly happened. Nighttime after 12 o'clock, they turn up to their door and knock on the door, and that they wanted to take the car away. So first of all, they're not allowed to do that, and this is what exactly we have to figure out. Those kind of stuff, we need to highlight those kind of stuff. The driver are struggling at night time, someone coming to your door and taking your car, at least they should have understand the situation is, and then government should have know about it, what exactly happening behind it, and we should have we need to talk about those kind of stuff as well. So at least once in a month, if you sit down and if you talk about it from all the unions, I'm definitely sure a lot of driver from our union will come and join with you and discuss about what to do, and in any further demonstration or anything coming up, please let us know. We'll be with you all the time.
Thanks for that, Jabid. Just to say that if this works well, obviously we'll try and run further drive-ins. We want to make sure that we're speaking for and to everyone. Just a quick shout. Thanks, Paul, for the message. My absolute pleasure. This is what we do. It's about protecting people's licenses and livelihoods. Jabid talks about a company who sent in. There were only literally 2 payments left on the vehicle. That's what makes it even worse. We've just started to work with the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association, trying to get the government and the Treasury to change their rules on recovery of vehicles today. Mick and I have just got going on that. Fingers crossed, along with Steve McNamara from Licensed Taxi Drivers Association, we'll get some results on that. We are still also working, I think this is quite important, to get the message across that we want to see drivers getting the vaccine as soon as possible for protection. They're one of the biggest super spreaders there are, and we want to make sure that there's that protection. Just to let you know, I have seen the messages coming up about getting the message out to a wider group. We are just formulating all of that at the moment. I promise you. Then you're on the way there. I'll pause to say, if you bought you have to pay. So my pleasure again, Paul. Jonathan Hughes has said, what about paying tax and the money the drivers may get, and how will this be sorted out as drivers have already paid some tax? Well, theoretically, if there is a differential, I would imagine that any settlement will then be set off against your personal taxation when you come to that year for any extra money that comes in. Some comments coming in. I know, Clever, you also sent a private message to me as well. I'll try and get that question out. A lot of people talking about Simon Virgo and his passing, far too young as an individual. All I can tell you is that this is one of the most stressful, dangerous jobs on earth. It's one of the most solitary jobs. whatever you're doing, it is very, very, very dangerous. And a lot of people don't realise that customers treat you like a ghost. It doesn't matter whether you're a private hire or taxi driver, a courier, or a food delivery driver. A lot of people see us or drivers at the bottom of the barrel, and honestly, it's up to us to advocate on your behalf. We do work with all sorts of organisations, literally on a daily basis, and whether it's local councils or TfL in London or London's mayor office, or whether it's Leeds, or we are working literally every day, almost 24/7, to deal with matters as they come up. And it might be something as mundane as helping somebody get their license back. But we are lucky enough as a union also to have Blackford solicitors there for when you do need lawyers to give you that extra backup. We are lucky enough there to have a lot of people who care. And as has been said by Yassine, we've had the financial might to be able to take on a lot of major organisations. I know Simon, who is listening in today, will remember the story of an individual who literally went bananas with me when we were starting the Uber case, because he said, "You're going to bankrupt the union. You're taking on this multi-billion-dollar company, and you'll wreck the GMB with this." Here we are today. So I think I've answered the question about whether that's really going to happen. Dennis, you wanted to say something?
Yes, the victory has happily, or is happily, going to bring a lot more work on the shoulders of the senior officers of the union, because there's so many things that need to be done. Now, a couple of the things I've seen in terms of comments are the professional drivers branch has to be strengthened. And this represents, as you obviously know, a wonderful opportunity to recruit, a wonderful opportunity to recruit. I sent you a private message about the Lee Day open days. They're doing 2 open sessions for drivers, where all of these technical legal questions probably can be answered. And just finally, to repeat what Yassine said and what you said, Steve, and you, Mick, yes, an individual driver can come in and say, look, hey, this is like PPI. Let me get the money and I'm off. If they've worked for these London companies, Uber and other companies, they will know how badly they are treated. If they haven't yet been badly treated, they'll soon find out. The number of cases I've dealt with where drivers have been switched off. Now, you've bought a car. You heard Yassine say that he bought a car for, I think it was him, he bought a car for 30,000 quid. And Uber suddenly said, well, you know what, bye-bye, we don't need you anymore. What's going to happen to you in that situation? What's going to happen to you when you've been accused of sexual harassment of a passenger because the passenger wants to get a free trip with Uber and so on? All of these cases have come across me, and I can tell you that Uber has not responded to one. I've written to Uber, I've spoken to them, they haven't responded to one. After this case, things will change. So we've got a lot to do, but tell people to join that union, join our union.
Sure. Thanks very much for that. A message has come up. How will working life change for private hire drivers if Uber adopt worker status for drivers? Do you think we'll have to give up freedoms on where and when we can drive and so on? And this is from Robert. Robert, I don't actually think that will be the case. Our bigger problem is whether it's Uber or other apps or food delivery apps. We know, as an example, with Jabid will tell you, there is a lot of apps still continuing to recruit at all costs. If rates have to go up, they have to go up. The consumer have basically had very cheap money or cheap service for luxury for years. In effect, there is always the choice of public transport if they've wanted that. But when it comes to things like food delivery, the drivers who are delivering the food also need food on their tables. They can't do this for nothing. and the consumer forgets that a free parcel that comes to them from the company that they're ordering from isn't really a free parcel. The courier has to be paid for that. The money has to come from somewhere. And however you look at this, however you look at the entire picture, rates will have to go up based on what the judgment has said. And if that means consumers have to pay more to actually look after the worker, then I think, frankly, that's the only way it has to be. Companies will have to absorb these costs, increase their rates. Now, if that means that Uber increase their rates, and that means that others also get to see quality of life, like London taxi drivers or taxi drivers in Leeds or Sheffield or Brighton or wherever else, then we need to be doing our best to make sure that these companies do the right thing and put rates that are living rates in place for those who are doing the job. And the ultimate aim here is to protect. And from this perspective, that's what we must do. I'm mindful that we're sort of close to the end of the broadcast, and I just thought I'd quickly do a quick round robin, back to Mick to make some comment, and then to jump in, and then maybe to Dennis before we start to wrap up for the afternoon. So I don't know if there's any more you'd also like to talk about, Mick, on sort of all of the work that we're doing and what's coming in the future as well.
Well, I mean, obviously, Amazon Couriers is potentially a big one. You know, people will realise and know that 3 years ago we beat Amazon courier companies in the courts on employment status, and we did that. Now, the whole thing of home delivery, internet shopping and things like that, and absolutely the unquestionable major growth of Amazon means that there is not going to be a dip in home delivery. So there's a huge expanse of people now working in the last mile drop, and especially for Amazon couriers. So obviously we are using the judgment to look at how we can further assist Amazon couriers all over the country to take these issues forward and to try and make work meaningful again. Because, you know, what we're seeing is this contraction, this squeeze of the individual, squeezing the life out of them. And as Dennis so eloquently said it earlier, making money out of the individuals that are providing this service. So there's a number of things there that we're moving into. One of the other things that obviously we're looking at more as a union is how can we create flexible procedures and organising strands to assist workers in different areas of the gig economy. And if people think that the gig economy is going to go away because we've won a judgment in the Supreme Court, it's not. It's here to stay. Platform working is increasing. There are around 6 million people in the UK today that rely on payments because of working on platforms and other forms of gig work. So this is a growing sector of the economy. And, you know, what is going to decrease is potentially direct forms of employment that people have traditionally known, whilst this sector increasingly grows. And, you know, if there's one thing that I can always say to people, just to put it in a very simple terms, you know, whether you're self-employed or whether you're direct employed, it doesn't make any difference. Workers have only advanced in whatever area of employment they have got by collective action and through trade unions. And that is why it doesn't matter whether you're direct employed, self-employed, or anything. Actually, being a member of a trade union, being part of a collective, you will win more than what you will lose, and you will have a better quality of life by being a member of a trade union.
Thank you, Mick. I'll pass you over to Jabid next.
Thank you, Steve. Basically, I just wanted to make another issues. Most of our drivers, they get the deactivation. I mean, the driver is my previous friend mentioned about it. One of the people bought their car. I mean, Denise mentioned about it, and Nick mentioned about it as well. Recently when Deliveroo started, I was one of the first delivery driver with Deliveroo long time ago. They used to respect us. They used to ask us how we are, how we're doing, and how am I working tomorrow? Am I fine? My family and friends. They used to ask me a lot of questions. Even the William Sue used to come and sit down with us. As soon they found out a lot of drivers are joining, what they did, they started kicking out all the old drivers, and they keep recruiting more drivers, keep recruiting more drivers, and they start doing the deactivation. I mean, they kick drivers out. Most of the driver, if small reason, no explanation has been given, and they're doing it, and no explanation have been given, they will make an issue and they'll kick you out straight away. That should be that should be done by us. We need to make awareness about it, because previously we did, GMB did, but we have to do more pressure on it, so that the driver, one of the driver, he started working. Tomorrow morning you're going to wake up, you will see like, oh well, I'm not working anymore. That should be make an awareness about it, and because a lot of drivers have been complaining about it, they were saying like, look, is there any way we can do it? I said, well, unfortunately, there is not. But we can claim, we can go to GMB, we can discuss about it. We can. I have sent few of the driver to Steve, and I said, can you sort this out? Because I nothing on my hand. But what we can do, we can go to the union, we can join to the union. The union, if you're working as a self-employed, or if you're working as a thing is, you should join any union. I'm not going to mention any names. But I suggest GMB is the best, because one of the muscle powers GMB got, and everyone respects. Even from my side, wherever I go, even though I went to home office, even though I went to thing is that we had a lot of meetings about it, about the driver safety and things. But one of the toughest job, Dennis mentioned about, one of the toughest job, which is delivery. Food delivery is the most toughest job. Even if it's freezing, if it's cold, you're riding a bicycle or you're riding a motorcycle, you're going everywhere. Like you're taking life risk. Some of the places is no going zone. Can you believe it? In London, no going zone. So you have to take a risk. You have to go to work. And do you know how much you're earning? How you might be earning £3 an hour. You might be earning £4 an hour. Delivery paying less than any amount, but they will keep give you jobs. But do you know what? You're getting less than minimum wages. That's the problem. You will keep doing hard work. End of the day, if you count every measure, if you calculate subtotal after costing your insurance, your fuel, your thing is, end of the day, it comes down to less than minimum wages. You might think, oh yeah, I made a £500 this week, but if you calculate and if you measure it subtotal, if you do subtotal, end of the week, you will see like, yeah, deduct £300, you will get only £200. And if you count the hours you've been working, it is less than minimum wages, I'm telling you. So these things we need to discuss, we need to talk about it, we need to pressure on it, like what they have done. Minimum wages is great, it is great. And well, we will follow, from motorcycle will follow that way. The way is Minicab going, but the way is other company is going. We will follow, because most of our drivers, they are really busy working 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day to make £100 a day. So they're working 12 hours. Before we used to work like 10 hours, 8 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, and come home. It's not easy. You're driving whole day. It is risk for yourself, for your family. It is not safe. So to make it £100, even the Uber, what they're doing, they will say, like, if you complete 10 jobs, if you complete 8 jobs, you will get £10 extra. What they're doing, they're forcing you to work more hard and take a risk. I mean, you're driving like a crazy, and you have to complete eight job in an hour or 3 hours, and then you will make another £10 extra. So can you believe it? Like, the Uber forcing drivers to do hard work. And motorcycle riding, faster riding motorcycle is not safe at all. Even the car is all. So you will in the
Absolutely.
competition. You are in the competition. End of the day, you will see last job. When you completing the last job, you're waiting for it. Last minute, they won't give you job. After the minute is passed, they will give you continuously job. So they cheat with us, and they force us to do hard work and the race and fast. And especially on Friday, you will see the drivers been waiting. There is no jobs, and well, after 5 o'clock, they will say, if you complete 8 jobs in particular these hours, I mean 3-4 hours, they will give you to complete 8 jobs. They will give you top up £10 on your payment. So you are angry with the restaurant. You are angry with customers. You can't do a good service. You can't do, you can't deliver on time. And even if you wanted to do on-time delivery, you will take a risk and ride fast. You might not going to stop on a traffic light. This is risky. So it is important to talk about.
Thank you. I'm mindful that we're starting to run down on time. I'm going to pass over to Mike. Sorry, forgive me, not Mike, but to Dennis in a second. There are a couple of things that come in. Gary Harris has asked about LTNs. I promise you we'll discuss them on the next call in for the drive-in. And basically, thanks from Peter O'Connell there, and Mike Tinian, and Gary. I promise you we will get back with you on this. And also, there's a huge message here from John Tolton. Was basically questions about exemptions and things like that. I'll let Dennis speak, and then I'm going to wrap up very quickly. And I promise you we'll do this again, I think, next month.
I won't be too long. I won't be too long. Just to say that we have to think of the decision, but we have to bear in mind that the other side in this case, Uber, are not a nice company. They will look at all of the tricks that they can use to avoid liability for this decision. Now, it is very nice that the judges sound like they're on the central committee of the major trade unions. This judgment was so strong, but this company is going to use all its endeavors to thwart the decision of the Supreme Court. Mark my words.
Well, Dennis, thank you for that. Look, thank you all for being with us today, and thank you for the contributors. I will hope to have many more of you on soon. I think this is highly important. You can see some of the comments that are coming in, and really delighted to have everyone here today. We'll see you again hopefully next month then for another drive-in. And all I can say is, look, be safe out there. Reach out to us if you've got problems, and please come again. And if you just even want to ask a question and not a member, don't feel you can't. We will reach out to you. But all I'll say now is goodbye and see you next time.
Okay.
From sunrise until sunset, and dusk until dawn, every minute of every hour of every day. On the front line, it's key workers keeping our country moving, putting themselves at risk to keep others safe, for the vulnerable, for the sick, for the young and the old. We rise to the challenge. We care, we protect, we help, we fix, we deliver for everyone. We will get through this, and it's thanks to our key workers. We're proud to represent heroes, and not all heroes wear capes. Key workers deserve recognition, protection and support. Get us on your side. Join us today.